So I'm Dave. I'm from Donald, and I'm creative director of Space Between. So, not too sure if many of you heard about Donald, but it's a small town in country Victoria, 3 hours northwest. There's not much there. There's footy and cricket. We've got a fish and chip shop. Space Between, we're just located around the corner on Gertrude Street. We're an eclectic mix of artists, graphic designers, spatial designers, art directors and industrial design. We've got great producers and account managers. And I thought it's pretty hard to explain exactly what we do, and rather than bore you with my elevator pitch, which is pretty shit, Ben in our studio put together this clip which will show you visually through a project we recently completed for Nike Court with their global brand team when we designed and built a showroom for the Oz Open. Cool. So that's... thanks. I guess that's an insight into our day today and kind of how we work and the types of projects we are very fortunate to work on. But I'm here today to have a chat to you about the topic of invest. So when I was thinking about that, it's like, hey, what can I share with you guys that you might be interested in or can relate to? And I narrowed it down into these 5 buckets. So I'll have a chat to you today and share some experiences and some stories from our business over the last 10 years on how we invest into people, into culture, ideas, our projects, and how we invest into our clients. So we start with our team, which obviously Space Between wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our amazing team. So there's 14 of us in our studio, as I mentioned, just around the corner, and Tyson's up the back there, my business partner, and we take great care in the types of people that we hire, and typically we don't take the traditional route of advertising on Seek. We put it out there to our networks to try and find people with flexibility and openness, people that can see things a little bit differently and are willing to take a risk. And we don't want somebody who just simply wants to turn up and do a job. What we are looking for is personalities, and not the kind of personalities that will come into the studio and be after special treatment. They're not the kind of things that we're looking for. In our studio, there's no egos, there's no heroes, and there's nobody looking for the limelight. We're very collaborative, and we work with a pretty flexible hierarchy. I mean, of course, we have management in place, but they're there to help guide the projects and keep us all accountable. But we invest in you and as a staff member from the moment you sign a contract with us. And for that reason, anybody on any day can be given a project in our studio, no matter if you're the newest member of the team, no matter how much experience you have. If it's your idea, then it's your idea. You control it and you'll see it to the end. Or if we get a brief and you've got capacity in your workloads, then you're up, the project's yours. You're with us for a reason. We believe in you and we've invested in you and you have our support, 100%. In addition to our team, we invest heavily into our relationships, particularly the people and the agencies that we partner with. And we've got this guy here up the back with us this morning too. This is Ryan Bishop. He's the director of Boom Studios, and we've partnered with them for the last 10 years on all of our projects. I'll chat a little bit about this partnership because as we wouldn't be here without our staff, we wouldn't be here without Boom Studios as well. So we work hand in hand. We've got an exclusivity agreement in place. And I mentioned 10 years ago we had a project and people said we couldn't do it. No, you can't print on pasta sheets. No one can build a box out of pasta sheets. But they said if they can, there's one guy that can, and it's Ryan from Boom Studios. And from that day on, we've worked side by side on every one of our projects. And last year we were fortunate enough to do some work for Patagonia on the launch of their new store, which led me to reading the owner's book, Let My People Go Surfing. And there was a quote in there again that really resonated. And I wanted to share that with you today because it really reflects on the way that we invest in each other as agencies and partners. And there's the clip again. I'll read this. And he says, we do as much business as we can with a few suppliers as possible. The downside is the risk of becoming highly dependent on each other's performance. But that's exactly the position we want to be in because they're also dependent on us. We become like friends, family, mutually selfish business partners. What's good for them is good for us. Which leads me on to culture. And I mentioned we work really hard on finding the right people and the right partners, but equally we work really hard on investing into our culture. And this is our studio up on Gertrude Street. This is the second floor, but it was an investment that my business partner and I decided to take on last year. It was significant financially and all sorts of risks associated, but we've got this beautiful space and what we wanted was really to create the kind of space where these people can come to work and enjoy work, a place that they really want to be. And in addition to the studio, we started another little business downstairs. We have a gallery space called At the Above. So we're working with artists and brands just to do things a little bit differently. We're not a traditional gallery, we're not a space for hire, but we like to partner with those artists or brands to do something truly unique in it. And it gives our designers and our team the opportunity to have a break from the everyday slog of working on such a big corporate like Nike, which is amazing work, but the creatives in here today will understand it sucks the life out of you and it's really hard. But this is just something, a side project of ours where we can get after some passion, work with our friends, work with our colleagues to do something a little bit different. A social initiative we come up with last year, launched a couple of weeks ago, and I guess this is an extension of At the Above. So we called it Make Less More. We'll be rolling this program out at the Collingwood English Language School around the corner with a pilot each semester through the course of the year. And really it's about repurposing the temporary materials that come from our work. We have a lot of great things that don't always make it to the stores or don't always make it back, but we're collecting these things and taking them to the school. And there's a hands-on workshop with a simple brief, and it's to make something new from something old. Which leads us to us and I suppose our culture, and I kind of touched on those three areas that we really get after. And we've got the people, we create the environment, we give them the opportunities, and This is a clip that we just put together to give you an insight into our last 6 months. So we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we like to have fun. Tegan is here today. Our design director was up in Sydney a month ago, and she had a chat with Oz Design Radio. And I suppose there was a quote from here which I really loved, and I think it reflects like what we're trying to get after with our culture. And I'm just going to play this back for you.
As well, so it's super team vibes in there. It's like, you know, like we're not like huddling around and shit, but it's really like, it's just, we're mates, we're colleagues, we're comrades. Like we go to war together every day, we hang together, we rock together, like, and we work together. And I think if you live in and you exist in that type of space, then that's when you get the best work out of people.
So we kind of have the right people, you know, in our studio, and I mentioned we're very fortunate for that. And then we work hard on developing this culture, which then feeds into the ideas that we come up with. And I suppose like we're in the business of ideas, and we want to make cool shit. So we have to have the right people and the right culture to do that. And on the front page of our website, we have this statement, which is led by ideas instead of rules. We also have a contract which says that we must produce world-class creative. And I guess the idea is where the value is in our agency, and of course the execution and how you manage that project, but without the idea, space between doesn't exist. We trust our intuition, even if it pushes the brief into awkward moments and pushes you or the client to something that's a little bit uncomfortable, but that's the space we want to work in. And we'll back it in and we'll pitch that brief. And if it flops, that's cool. We settle up and we reinvest and we go again. But when we get an opportunity to flare, we throw everything at it. This is an example I probably want to touch on when we talk about investment. And it was a pretty wild idea we executed last year in the city in Chinatown. And we managed to convince Nike that it would be a good idea to put their products inside an actual convenience store alongside canned abalone and alongside baby formula, rather than just create one, which was quite a battle, but we're invested in that idea. We managed to sell it. The client liked it, but it's not just us that needs to like it, or the client, you know, they have to go in bad as well. So it's important that they're equally invested. And this lady up on the right here, Winnie, without her investment in this, it would never have got off the ground. She literally let us come in and we placed the product next to the baby formula. And it was the only space in Melbourne that you can come and purchase this particular product for a week. So with the idea then comes the project, and I thought about this one, and I could have showed some glossy pictures of the beautiful work we're fortunate enough to create, but I think this picture for me represents the projects and the type of investment that we put in on a daily basis. It's blood, sweat and tears, and it's mentally and it's physically exhausting. This is a picture from an event up in Sydney where we built a retail space. The project was a 3-month project. This was after a 48-hour install with 4 hours sleep. But everybody needs to be invested in our projects 100% for them to succeed. That's the client, that's the brand manager, that's their marketing director, that's our account managers, our designers, our production partners, the freight and logistics team, the install team, the de-install team, and the venue that we're activating in. Because our briefs are crazy and the timelines are nuts. So at any one point, if there's a person in that link that's not invested in our project, it can fall over. And that's real. And my business partner and I term that flying close to the sun. Here's a slide of Teagues and an example of the type of investment we get from our staff. And it was last year she was working on a project that was up in Cairns. Again, you know, probably a month or two lead time. It was a big build. The freight was up there. She was due to fly out Monday morning. We get some pictures back Monday night that she's in a wheelchair. hadn't heard she broke her knee playing football on the weekend, decided not to tell us at the risk of not being able to join. So I've got clients, and I thought I'd share this one with you too, because we're invited to present in front of a brand and a marketing team on what we can do for them in terms of design and production and keynote present. This is actually my very first keynote presentation, by the way. And not really our thing, so we're like, okay, how can we show this client what we do? And we thought, let's invite them down on a Friday afternoon. We'll build a Mario Kart world and let them play in it for a while. We're still working with that client today, but that was a fun afternoon. Which brings me to, I know I've probably spoken a lot about us and how we invest, but we're really fortunate to have clients that invest back into us. And I thought this was pretty relevant because I wanted to show what a retail campaign looked like from us in terms of a design agency and our output. That's what it looked like on the left in 2015. And this is what it looks like today in 2020 now. Sure, in 2015, there was people out there that could develop renders and probably had the skills to present and pitch back and, the work like you see we're doing today. And we didn't, but we had the idea, we had the will, and we had the team, and we got after it, and they were willing to invest back into us. And we work hand in hand and together. They've really helped us to get where we are today. Which brings me to my final slide, and I guess to recap on what I've touched on, it's, of course, we invest in our people and the culture, and those two feed our ideas. The ideas are then directly linked to the projects, and the outcomes of those projects enable us to talk to the types of clients that we're fortunate to talk to and to work with today.